Thank you, Farisha. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinars on Google Analytics for hotels. So today, Jason will share with us the importance of Google Analytics for hotels. But before we start, this webinar will also be hosted on YouTube live stream. So if you have any question, do left them on the right side box on your screens, and we will have to answer them.
Okay,
All right.
interesting.
Then let's start our webinar. So
Okay.
how are you, Jason?
Good. I'm
All
good.
right, sure. Okay, then first, can you introduce yourself to the viewers and also explain to us how long have you been using the Google Analytics?
Okay, sure. This is Jason. I'm the CEO of Softinn. I have been a long time user of Google Analytics ever since I started my own blog. Then this company, I have been using Google Analytics to track the traffic on my websites to my blog. And then later in the business, I learned to track how the users, what kind of information they are looking on our websites, and then how we can better serve them.
Okay, all right. I believe with your experience, right, the viewers today can learn a lot of useful information from you for Google Analytics.
I hope so.
All right, sure. Then let's get started with the main question. Can you explain to us what is Google Analytics?
Basically, Google Analytics is like a tool for the users or the webmaster to track the traffic to their website. As a webmaster, we always wonder how many users visited our website, what they do on our websites, how can we serve them better, or whether there's any problem with our websites, right? So that is Google Analytics in general. And recently, Google launched a new versions of Google Analytics called GA4. Basically, it's Google Analytics 4. They have expanded the reach from just website to mobile apps to devices, and basically, they have expanded the reach other than just purely website.
Then maybe can you walk us through on what the difference between Universal Analytics and GA4 in summaries?
Okay, so I prepared some simple slides over here. Basically, ignore the slides. I just have this as a cue. But basically, the old versions of Google Analytics is called Universal Analytics, which is called UA in short form. And then the new Google Analytics is called GA4, which is the latest versions. Okay, the main difference between the two is in the past, UA are meant to track website usage. For GA4, it is, like I said earlier, it is more well covered, like, because nowadays people use app as well, right? So as a product owner or company owner, you probably have a website, but also you have a mobile app, and you wanted to basically track your users or your customers from the websites all the way to app, or the other way around, right? So that's the main difference between the two. And if from the user log on my screen, what I'm showing is the GA4 account, and then on this particular screen, I am, let me go to here, master view, go to home, and I'm showing you the old versions of the same account, right? So this is the old account, this is the new, UA versus GA. So that's the main difference.
The main difference, right? So from the way they track the data, is it also different between those two?
I would say ultimately they are tracking the user behavior. The approach could be slightly different. What I noticed is that the Google and I will refer the old one as UA from now onwards, the new one as GA4. Okay, UA tends to track session. Like, for example, when a users visit the websites, right, that is called one session, right? But GA4 tends to track more events, what they do within the apps. Like, I have just clicked like, I have just add something to cart, because the internet and e-commerce has changed so much. In the past, right, webmaster would be very happy to know like how many people visit, what they do, what they buy, which page they have viewed. But nowadays, the user actually spend a lot of time online and on the app. So we no longer track like which page they visited, but rather within that same page, right? We are tracking whether they have add to cart, whether they have how many times they click the detail, how many times they click the filter, how many times they add certain buttons or they click certain things on your website. So that is the main difference between the two.
I see. So from what I understand here, GA4 is more on user behavior. So it's a better way to track the traffic or user behavior rather than the universal analytics.
Yeah, it basically gives you a better view of what they did.
Okay, great. That's a great information. Then okay, assuming right, we are new hoteliers. We don't have any Google Analytics set up yet. We don't even sign up for Google Analytics yet. Can you maybe walk us through on how we can sign up and also set up the account?
Okay, so first thing first, to sign up for an account, go to analytics.google.com. This URL. Maybe I'll paste it here. Right, just use this URL. Right, then you will get to the and Google Analytics, right? Then register for an account, and then basically it feels like registering an Gmail. So once you registered, then you have an account.
So right now, right, we have Universal Analytics and GA4. So when the new user first sign up for the Google Analytics, will they go straight to the GA4 or Universal Analytics?
That is an interesting question. Because I haven't used a new account, but maybe for those who are listening, if you haven't used a Google Analytics account, then you tell us, right? But I would suspect that they will get to GA4 right away. As a new users, right, once you log into Google Analytics, basically you haven't installed the analytics on your website, right? What Google did was very helpful, is that every new users, you will get access to an account called demo account. And in the demo account, you will have the GA4 versions and the UA versions. So you get to differentiate by the ID, you know. The latest versions doesn't come with just plain number. The older versions always come with the UA in front, right? So as a new users, once you log in, you get to start to play with Google Analytics. And this data, this demo account is actually a real account, because basically this account is tracking the traffic on Google merchandise store. So for those who have buy a hoodie or any Google related merchandise, right? They have an e-commerce site under the URL googlemerchandisestore.com. So those data that you get to see on your demo account here, it's basically the data coming from their website.
Okay, that is interesting. So even though it's a demo account, we are actually looking at the real website performance.
Correct. So Google did this and helped a lot of new users get started, you know, because it is very hard for new users to get themselves familiar with Google Analytics if itself is empty, there's no data. So this is a very helpful way for new users to get started.
Okay, now let's say a hotel has already set up the Google Analytics. So the Google Analytics actually track the data from website, right? So is there any integration needed to be done between Google Analytics and your website?
Okay, so now let's say you have registered an account, you wanted to install Google Analytics on your website. So pretty simple. In your account, right, go to admin, and under admin, you will have demo account. So what you need to do is click create the account. Click create account, put your website name, can be Hotel A, Hotel B. So once you did that, right, and let me switch to my account so that it's easier for you to see. Right, so this is a demo account from us. If you notice, once you create a new account, like in your case would be Hotel ABC account, right? Then you get to see this part, tracking info. So click on the tracking info, and click on tracking code, and you will get to see a box over here. This is the code that you need to paste on your website to start the tracking.
It's look like we need to have like certain IT knowledge to have this type.
It depends. Nowadays, most of the website or webmasters has a lot of plugins helping them to install this script. For example, if you are users to Softinn content management system, let me switch to Softinn content management system. Let's say this is my website, and go to developer tool, go to custom script. Right here is where you click add script. Let's say you call it GA script, and you paste. Oops, I need to copy this part, right? Copy it, and then paste it here, and put it into the head section, and click save. And then if you are using Softinn CMS, this is how you do it. Click save, then you are ready to go. Or if you are using a WordPress website, right, you may go to your WordPress account, plugins, add new, and look for Google Analytics. You will get to see this. Click install. Once you click install, it will ask for your Google Analytics login, and then the plugins will automatically install the script for you.
Okay. So it seems like we don't need to have a deeper knowledge on IT. We can actually do this by ourselves. Even I can do this also.
Yeah, so basically Google realized that it is the marketer, the sales team, or the non-IT business owner wanted to do a lot of tracking on their website. So they make it very easy for us.
That's correct. Alright, so now let's say the integration part is settled. So Google Analytics can now start tracking from your website. So for beginner, right, when you first open Google Analytics, it's kind of overwhelming. There's a lot of things going on. So maybe can you advise for a beginner or a starter out there, which report are useful for them to use?
Okay, so let's start with the fundamentals, right? So what I did when I first started with Google Analytics is I always ask myself 3 questions and one thing. Okay, first question is who visited our website?
All right.
Second question is where they come from. Third question is what are them doing on my website? Okay, the last one is results. Okay, what am I as a webmaster or business owner want in the next 3-4 months as a result, right? So why I use results instead of sales, because there are many departments out there. So take for example, you are the marketing department and your role is to write blog posts. Your KPI probably is not sales right away, but your first KPI is number of blog views. So as a blog writer, most likely I will set my result as number of views per week, right? But from the sales department, on the other hand, I believe the focus is like how much sales did I get from my website. Okay, so basically I always start with who, what, where, and the results I'm targeting. So this is the fundamentals of Google Analytics, right? So let me further elaborate, right? So this is just theory. So let's say who. Okay, if let me switch to, okay, if you have logged in, right, you will get this message that tells you that the UA will go obsolete after July this year, which means starting July, there's no more UA. You get to only use GA4. So even if you have an account, you get to log in, there's no latest data coming for that UA account, right? So let me dismiss this, right? And I switch to my account. Okay, so going back to the first question, who they are. Okay, from the old account, let me use Google Merchandise Store. Okay, right. Let me switch to the correct account so that I can get to show it to you. Okay, so under the UA account, who they are, it's in the audience tab. So basically in this tab, you will find out how many users visited your website, where they came from, you know, the demographics, the interest, the technology they are using, their mobile phone, you know, what kind of screen sizes. The second question is like where they came from. It's under the acquisition tab. So here you get to see these people came to your website, but where they came from. They came from Google, they came from social media, they came from your advertisement. So there are many channels. So for Google Merchandise Store, if you notice, their main traffic is direct, which means most of the people go to Google Chrome and type Google Merchandise Store. So that is what meant by direct. Okay, and affiliates are people who actually do affiliate marketing. Let's say you add your link for an influencers, right, on their website. So then that is recognized as affiliate. Then what they do is under the behavior tab. So basically here you get to see from the user perspective which page they have visited, which are the most visited page, and then you can drill deeper, like how much time they spend on those pages, right? So these are the three questions, and the last one is the result. Result is under the conversion. So from the old account, they organize in this manner: who, where they come from, what they do, and the results. Okay, for new account GA4, right? So you have to navigate to reports, and under the reports, you get to see something similar. But one thing different is that who they are was underneath here in these sections under demographic and traffic. But they highlight more on where they come from, what they do, and here's the result. So basically, it's just that a change of the hierarchy. They made the users at the bottom, but they made acquisitions. Acquisition means where they come from. Engagement means like what they do, right? And monetization is mostly the conversion, right? So this is how you can quickly navigate to different tabs, right? To look out for an answer for those questions.
Understand. Right. I noticed there are retention below the monetization. Maybe you can further explain on that.
Okay, so this is something new. This new tab basically help webmasters to look at how well their website retain the customers. For example, if you run an e-commerce store or if you run an hotel website, right, you wanted to know how often your existing customers come to your website and try to buy. So this is retention, is how well your website retain a prospect. So if the same users keep coming back to your websites, the retention is high, right? So for hotels who are not running a membership system, I would suspect retention is low. But if you do offer membership systems and you do have point systems and you do have some special offers to your regular customers, and this is a tab that I will track. How often they come back to my websites to re-look at their merchant, they offer memberships offer.
I see. Okay, all right. Then under user, I noticed there's two reports, if I have to say. One is demographic and what is one text. So maybe is there any differences between these two?
Okay, so demographic basically tells like where they came from in geographically, right? So and then tech basically split people by the devices they use, right? Whether they use mobile phone or whether they use Windows versus Android versus Mac, you know. So basically, that is how we get to analyze the user, because there is this idea that certain persona of your customers would normally spend more, right? So this is a way for webmasters to further analyze like what type of customers actually is the best customers for your business.
All right. Okay. Then maybe can you share with us some of the user cases on how hotel can track certain reports and what is the next step that they can do? For example, right? Okay, my hotels are targeting the visitors from Singapore. So how can they track the traffic in Google Analytics, and based on the volume of traffic that they have, what is the next action and they can do?
Okay, so you're talking about you are interested to find out your users or the traffic coming from Singapore, right? Yes. So the first thing is like who they are, where they came from, right? So you may go to demographic, go to overview, right? You may use filter to further filters by country. For example, I'm on the overview, and then notice here by cities, right? You may click into cities, and here is where you get to use Google filter to further filter, like for example, you are looking at Singapore. Let's see whether it works. Oh, sorry. Maybe I have to choose country. Then I type.
I noticed Singapore over there on number 9.
Yeah, but I am trying to see if I can do a filter. But here's how you navigate by country. But Google do offer options to navigate by language, age, gender. So I mean, like even like I'm a regular user. I mean, like I use once a week, right? I always find new things on Google Analytics. So one of it is like maybe feel free to explore, try geographic and then try to see if you can do filter. For example, you want to know based on country and based on age group. So you are able to further drill down the traffic. Then next questions, you say that, okay, now you know the traffic coming from Singapore, for example, right? Then what you are interested to know is like whether these users, how long these users spend on your website, right? So the next thing you get to see is like how many of them visited your website. In my case, in Google merchandise store case is like 580, and out of 580, 400 of them are new users, which means are new to the websites. They haven't been to the websites before. And then you get to see how much is the engagement percentage, and then how many sessions, and then how long they spend, So basically, these are all the data that you could use as a benchmark to measure whether your websites perform well to Singaporean, for example.
Okay. All right. So based on this one, I actually depend on the hotel, right? So if in their opinions the traffic are actually low, they can further improve it. Maybe they can post more on social media, or they do more blog, which has more content to target Singaporeans.
Yeah. So basically, the tools help you to identify opportunities. Then it is the creativity of the marketing and sales department to create content to engage the specific group. So yeah, you are right. So this is a very useful tool for you to find out opportunities.
It's true. It's a very useful tool, and I like the way that we can further filter the result that we want. So this is a very good information. All right. Then okay. All right. Next thing, can we actually customize certain report to track certain goals or metric?
Definitely, but I myself seldom customize reports on Google Analytics. But obviously, under the report section, there is one that I understand. Under the Explore section, you get to explore what kind of reports you are looking at. Right? You can further go by funnel. You may go by chart. So there are also some samples that in the demo account you get to explore. For example, like look at transaction ID. These are the customized report. And then these are the filters. But for new users, I would suggest to not explore this part first until you are very familiar with the basic navigations, and then unless you have a very specific things you wanted to track, then you go into the customized report. So you can always find the customized report under the Explore section, and feel free to explore YouTube videos on those Google Analytics experts. They always talk about new tricks to measure.
Okay. Interesting. So I noticed on the if you can go on the upper part of on the report. Okay. So I noticed we have the conversion. So for conversion, right? For monetization, sorry, because I was used with the universal analytic. All right. So for monetization, do we need to set up anything? Because I believe this is something like result, right?
Yes, you do have. So for monetizations or conversion, right? So these are the part where you need a little bit more effort from the webmaster sites. You will have to tell Google Analytics when a user make a purchase. You have to send those data to Google Analytics. So some basic, I think that we can save it for the next sessions when we talk about Google Tag Manager. So basically, without Google Tag Manager, a users would need a programmer's help to basically send the purchase data to Google Analytics. Basically, some programming involved. For example, a user add a cart, an item to a cart which worth $100 US, right? And then that particular button will trigger by programmatically to tell Google Analytics there's a 100 ringgit items added to the cart. So that's how Google get those information from. But I think for some years already, Google launched a tool called Google Tag Manager. So basically, they allow a non-programmer again to implement this kind of tracking, so that we would be able to send traffic or data to Google. So, but I think I went a bit too far on the revenue and amount side, but I do have one part where I talk about conversions here. So for normal users, right, I mean, like when I first started, I am less sophisticated. I just wanted to track how many people reach the sign up page. That is my goal. Or how many people reach the thank you page. Because for me, thank you page means they have made payment. Although I do not know the amount, but as long as I know that they have came to that thank you page, I knew they have bought something, right? So for first time users, the easiest way to track conversion is by URL.
URL, okay.
Yeah. For example, I mentioned earlier when we first started as a blog, let's say you copyright, you write blog on your websites, right? So your goal is to get number of page views, and the other goal is to track how many users actually sign up for the newsletter, for example, right? So this can be done using URL tracking. And the other tracking is what I meant by tracking by events, where you track which you have rich information, like how much they spend, you know, what actually they click, and then you can send custom informations to Google. Okay. So for content like URLs, to set it up, it is quite easy as well. Let me navigate to UA, go to goal. This is where you track the goal. And if you notice on this demo account, Google is tracking the view as a goal. Once the users visit the basket, HTML means that people have add to basket, and they visit store, you know, obviously when to payment is a goal, right? Then obviously if I were them, I will implement a paid page where I knew, okay, they have paid, right? So this is basically a way for you to track. And then how you set it up, right? You go to admin again, go to your account. I suspect that Google will not allow me to touch their setting. So I'll need to switch to my account again, right? Let's try this. Okay. You will notice that under the account, there is a part where you get to set up the goal over here, right? On the right hand side. You click goal, and then here is where you declare a new goal, okay? Like I said, goal can be URL visits. So what I could do is that I click custom, continue, and let's call this a sign up for newsletter, okay, as a first goal. And how we track them is by destination, which is the URL that I talked about, and then click continue. And here is where you put the URL. For example, the URL is thank you for signing up.html. So every time a user reach this particular page, you consider as one goal conversion, right? You may associate value to it. So this is a flat way to do conversion by value. For example, for each newsletter sign up, you consider them as like one US dollar value. Or the other way, you may not put value, right? But you only add value for people who buy an ebook from your website, and then you know the price of your ebook, let's say, is $30 US, for example. Thanks for buying ebook, for example. Then you assign the amount, then you click save. Right. So once you click save, it takes a while for the data to come in, but Google has this button, verify the goal. You get to try, to verify whether the goal was properly set up. So once you set up the goal, right, then that's where you get to see under the conversion tab how many people has actually reached this page, and then how much is the amount.
Okay, interesting. So, okay, for hotel, right, they may do a lot of marketing effort, but ultimately all the traffic will go to the website, right? So, in order for hotel to track the conversion, is actually on their booking engine page.
Correct.
So they can use this method to track the goals on how many conversion, on
Correct.
how many user make payments.
Yeah.
So, can you advise me on which page are better for us to
Okay,
put the
so
links?
this is actually something that can be different from hotel to hotel, because what I would suggest is to go to the behavior tab. What they do on our website. This is the part where you analyze the general user behavior of your website. Okay, let me switch back. Okay. Right, basically under the behavior tab, you get to see what the user did on your website, right? Okay, now the next thing you wanted to do is like you try to understand which is normally the first page they land on your website. For hotel, can be your homepage, can be your latest offer, and then from there you analyze which are the page users go through before they reach the booking engine page. Okay, this is what I call a leading conversions before the actual conversions. Okay, as a business, you want your customers to buy. That is the end of the funnel, right? But there are conversions before you reach the payment page. So whether they have come to the room page that look at your offer, whether they came to your offer page. So this can be tracked as a goal. For example, my first goal is like getting people to make sure they check out my best offer before they go to the booking engine. So that is how you track the behavior. Once you have the hypothesis, like, okay, people will always come to the promotion page, then next thing they will go to booking engine, and this type of customers always buy on the spot. Well, then you have found a funnel. So once you have that funnel, you may use that as a goal, and you can track on the daily basis, and then you get to compare on Google Analytics how that performed week over week, year over year. You may get to compare the results using Google Analytics. For example, I'm comparing the performance of this week versus last week. So you may use this date range to compare like this month versus last month, for example.
Okay, so you mean that it's better for us to track what the action the visitor does, mostly that can convert them to buy on the hotel website.
Yeah, of course. As a webmaster or marketer, you always wanted to learn more about your customers and find out what actually attracts them. If you serve family travelers versus a business travelers, they look for different kind of informations. Or if you serve students without transport, they look at different kind of informations. For example, students will look at how to get to your hotel through public transport, for example. But for businessmen, they look at whether your property has a good parking spots, what is the rate for the parkings, So these are the different types of customers, and you may use Google Analytics to segmentize them. Like, these are students customers, these are business customers, Then you track their behavior, and then you have content that basically, promote to the right customers. So because if you promote about public transports to your business customers, probably they don't care, right?
Yes, correct. Okay, so right now I notice you are actually expanding on the universal analytics. So can I actually achieve the same goal like you mentioned just now on GA4?
Yeah, of course. Whatever you can do on UA, I believe Google will make sure that you can do it on UA. That's right, on GA. So likewise, on monetization is where you track the revenue, right? But here, it's where you get to also do the setup. Let me switch to my account again. Oops. Here. Oops, I do not have a GA account for this account. Let me see. Okay, well, let's see what I can do using their account.
All right.
Oops, not here, under the reports. 1 second. Right, so under the monetization, because if you wanted to know how to set up those data, I think normally the best way is to look at where is the place where they normally have tips for you to set up. So here I am looking at their account, and let's see if I have any guides over here. It seems like none. Let's see. So I haven't explored the GA4 part of how to track, but maybe after the recording, I will try to, to do some research, and then maybe later on the day we do this, webinar sessions, and I will talk about this particular part.
Okay, right. Interesting. Thank you for your effort in providing, more insight and more way.
My pleasure. I'm learning as well.
That's same as me too. Okay, all right. Then, based on your experience, right? What is the usually common mistake that beginner usually do?
I think I don't know. If I recall myself, I give up too soon on Google Analytics until I learn what I need to look at. So, like I said, for new users, normally, first thing you must have the curiosity of what you are trying to look for. Like whether I'm looking at number of users, whether I'm looking at what they are doing on my website. So you always start with the questions. I think that's my mistake back then. I didn't start with the questions. I get to see a bunch of data, but to me, it's a bunch of data that means nothing, a lot of information, but information overloaded, right? So I started to realize I get the hang of it ever since I have a certain questions. Like I wanted to know how many hoteliers from Indonesia visit my official website, for example, and then what they do, whether language is a problem, what kind of device they use, whether internet is an issue, when we serve our website content to Indonesian hoteliers. So when I started with questions, then I started to realize I get myself more familiar. That is when I get to learn the value of the product. So as a new user, I always suggest to first start with some questions, and then it always pans out better. I mean, at least it works for me.
Yes, agree on that, because I also faced the same thing where, when I first opened the Google Analytics, it was too overwhelming. There's
Information overloaded.
Correct. There's a lot of report to look. And I think because there's too much, I decide not to look.
Immediately you close the window, right? So
correct.
Start with the questions, and I think based on my suggestions, who, what they do, where they come from, based on the tabs, you probably would be able to drill down to the data.
Yeah, it's actually a simple explanation which I believe most of people out there can understand. Who they are, where they're coming from, what they do, and what the result. I believe you try stick on this information, you can actually go through the Google Analytics.
Yeah, feel free to write in the comments later. We'll answer those questions from you at our best effort, right?
Yes, correct. Okay, then next, there's a lot of data, right? So how about the data accuracy?
In terms of, Google Analytics talks about privacy. So there's no way for you to associate one conversion to that specific users. Okay, that's first. Second is like Google talks about sampling, which means like the data that you had on Google Analytics are sampled. For example, they sample 2 out of 10, but the sampling rate, we do not have such information given by Google how high is the sampling rate. But as far as I can tell, as long as your website reach 1,000 visits a month, you should have at least the bare minimum data to look at on your Google Analytics. If you have only 2 users, I think probably you have hard time looking at Google Analytics because there's not enough of samples. But the goal here is not about sampling all data. The goal here is to pick up signals from your website that show certain trend, show certain behavior, show certain opportunity, and show certain problems. So this is what we get from Google Analytics.
Okay. So actually, the Google Analytics information enough for us to take a look and try to find out where's the area that we can improve on and make a data-driven decision after we look into the reports. All right. So I think this is a very useful sharing. Thank you for your expertise and also your sharing in this session.
My pleasure.
Okay, all right. So in the next session, we will go. I will pass to my colleague Faisha for the question Q&A session. So do drop your questions in the comment section or in the chat box if you are watching us from the webinar, and if you are watching us from the YouTube, do leave your comment in the right box section, and we will attend to your question shortly after. Okay, all right. And then for those who are watching from our YouTube video, if you like this kind of video, do like this video. Then don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more hotel related content. All right. So Jason, thanks again for your time and sharing with us. And then I will end this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Okay, thank you.